nothing but bomb blasts in one city after another. Terrorism has become a major threat to us. Why national governments have been failing for national security? What is Lok Satta's stand on common man's safety?
No, it will be harsh to say that our governments have failed completely in combating terrorism. First of all, when a determined terrorist is willing to die if necessary in pursuit of what he believes is a worthy goal, then no matter how strong and effective a government is, to protect the innocent citizens is not that easy. You obviously cannot have a policeman for every citizen. No society can afford that. Even if you have a policeman for every citizen, you cannot mistrust every human being that you encounter on the road. Every time he carries a tiffin box or a bag or something else, you can't presume that he is arrest and harass people. It becomes a police state. China maybe can do it. But in a democratic society, there are limits. Therefore, I do believe that the governments over the years have done not greatly but not very badly either. First of all, let's not be too harsh. Particularly when the terrorism is highly motivated, extraterritorially sponsored in modern technology in a free society. But nevertheless, there are some serious failings. There are three significant failings. One is there is no national coordination. Law and order is being a state subject. Each state has its own method of doing things. And terrorists does not know these boundaries. Terrorists are sponsored from outside the country, maybe from Pakistan or Bangladesh or somewhere else. So you can come from anywhere. Or you can use a telephone to talk to anybody in the world. So given that, unless we have one single federal agency to deal with terrorism as a federal crime, as a national offense, with all the powers and resources, and coordinating with the local police and the state police, you cannot combat it effectively. You must bring under that agency the intelligence agencies and all anti-terrorist forces. The second is, certainly our law enforcement agencies must be strengthened, their hands must be strengthened in order to be able to combat terrorism. Extraordinary situations require extraordinary remedies. Human rights are important, they are vital. Without them there is no free society. But if there is no country, if India itself is dismembered, there are no human rights, there is no constitution. Therefore, if the first article of Indian constitution fails, if India itself is dismembered, there is no constitution to speak of. Therefore, there must be some fair balance between these two competing demands. Otherwise, you will force the policemen to do something illegal. These so-called encounters where people are killed in captivity, this harassment and abnormal torture, not showing arrest. All kinds of illegalities are going on in the country. It's not that we are really protecting human rights. Instead, let the law be stronger in respect of terrorist offences, to protect the witnesses, to protect their anonymity, to protect the judges in some cases, and to be able to gather evidence much better, and to be able to make a confession properly recorded and monitored. If a confession made before a police officer, to make it admissible as evidence, right now it's not admissible. To shift the burden of proof to the terrorist group once there is prima facie evidence. Because we're not going to get evidence very easily in this country in case of terrorist offences. So these changes in law are required. And third, corruption is a significant cause of contribution of terrorism in two ways. One is, once the government is not seen to be legitimate by the people, once we see the government itself as an exploiter, an extortionist, as corrupt, then it's very difficult for us to cooperate with the government and think that the government is working for us. There is a general mistrust of the police and government. For that reason, corruption should become brought down. The legitimacy of the government should be enhanced. People's attitude to government must become much more positive and healthy. That will happen only when politics itself is changed, and when we can trust our politicians and our political parties and governments. Right now there is no trust, there is cynicism, there is despair, there is a lot of anger. If some politicians are killed, the general perception is they deserve it. There is a lot of anger. We become anti-political because of the mistakes of political class. But the answer does not lie in destroying politics or politicians. It lies in transforming politics. There is a second reason why corruption is important in combating terrorism. How did the bomb blasts take place in 1992-93? How did the RDX come in? It did not come in through smuggling. It did not come in through some pirate ships. It came through normal customs clearance because they bribed the customs officials to clear those containers. Now the customs officials obviously did not know that there was RDX in that, but it did not matter for him. All he wanted was a bribe. Today it is universally known, for instance, that to clear your customs container at the customs, you have to pay a standard bribe. I have seen computerized printouts by which bribes are collected, because the volumes have become so big now that the customs people are not able to keep track of all these transactions. Therefore, at the end of the month, they are actually sending to entrepreneurs a computerized printout of all the containers cleared for that particular company or consignments cleared, and then saying, look, in this month so much cleared, therefore this is the bribe you have to pay. It is so standardized. And in such a system, why will not there be corruption? Your regulation has become a source of corruption, not a source of protection of the people of the country. It is meant to protect us. Instead, it is actually becoming a source of extortion and corruption. So for both reasons, we require to curb corruption and enhance the legitimacy of the government. Do all these three, you can combat corruption and combat terrorism much better. But even then, we must realize and recognize that terrorism is something we have to live with for quite some time. It's not going to come down easily overnight just because you and I want it, because there are extraterritorial forces which are global, and they are fiercely motivated. Unless we have the national will, unless we have strong and stable and honest governments, credible and respected and trusted governments, we cannot combat terrorism.
What is the stand